Hello and welcome to the Wildcat Varsity Bowling live stream coming from River City Bowlaway in Napoleon, Ohio. Today is January 13th, 2020. Today's match is a conference match between the Wildcats of Napoleon and the Bowling Green Bobcats. Today's contest will consist of two individual matches where a squad of 5 bowlers from each school will bowl individual games. And then after the individual games conclude, there'll be 3 Baker matches. A Baker match will be where a team of 5 from each school will alternate frames. So the first bowler will bowl frames 1 and 6, and the last bowler 5 and 10. The winner of the match will be the team with the most total pins combined from the individual and the Baker games. All right, for the boys, coming up to the line on lane 1 for his spare, coming up on lane 1 would be Napoleon's second bowler. Waiting to see who steps up. Looks like it's going to be Ashton Kiesling. And on lane 3 for Napoleon, their 5th bowler, Levi Anderson. Coming up on lane 4 for Bowling Green is their number 5 bowler, Colin Fahey. He's a sophomore, he's a junior. With a strike. Number 2 bowler for Napoleon is James Gherkin on lane 1. And he starts out with a 9 count. Coming up for Bowling Green on lane 3 is her number 3 bowler, Brandon Nell. A strike for Jacob Hull on lane 1 for Napoleon. Jacob is a sophomore. And Napoleon gets a strike in lane 2 with Ashton Kiesling. Up on lane 2 is James Gherkin with his first shot. And he gets 9. Ends up leaving the 7 pin. Up on lane 1 for Bowling Green with his spare attempt is their number 1 first bowler, which is Dylan Swalls. Dylan misses his spare attempt. Next up for Bowling Green on lane 1 is James Alfaro, a senior. But first, we've got James Gherkin for Napoleon trying to pick up his spare on lane 2. And he picks it up. And Jacob Hull with another strike on lane 2. It's Back-to-back strikes for Jacob. Up for Bowling Green on lane 4 with a spare attempt. Brandon Nell looking to pick up the 10-pin. Just misses it. And Levi Anderson on lane 3. Big strike for Levi there. And James Gherkin up on lane 1. And looks to be an 8 count. Leaves the 6-10. For Bowling Green with his first attempt, his spare attempt is Dylan Swalls, a senior, and he picks that up. Next up for BG in lane 2 is James Alfaro. And he picks up 9 on his first attempt. James is averaging just over 200 for the season, 200.64. And he picks up his spare attempt on lane 2. Coming up for Napoleon on lane 1 is Jacob Hall. He's working on back-to-back strikes. Jacob is averaging 206 this year, 206.82. And he gets 9 count, leaves the 10. We've got Ashton Kiesling coming up for Napoleon on lane 2. He's working on back-to-back strikes as well. And he adds a third one. And Jacob with a spare attempt and picks up the 10-pin. Coming up for Napoleon on lane 4 with his spare attempt is Elijah Wolf. Looks like he left the 10-pin from his previous attempt and just misses it. Coming up from Bowling Green on lane 3. That would be their number 4 bowler, which is Clayton Genson, a junior. And he gets a strike. Levi picks up 9 on his first attempt, leaves the 10-pin. And Bowling Green with a strike on lane 3. That was their number 5 bowler, Colin Fahey, a junior. He's got at least 4 strikes that I can see back to back. He's working on a good game. All right, let's switch over and see what the girls are up to. All right. Got a strike on lane 6 for Bowling Green. That was Linda Alfaro, a sophomore. Got Lily Gubernath for Napoleon up on lane 5. Just misses the pocket. Picks up 6, leaves 4. Got Bowling Green's Tyler Pacheco on lane 6, picks up 8. Tyler is a junior this year, has a 196 average. On lane 7 for Bowling Green with her spare attempt, misses. That was Mia Herrera, also a junior this year. And following her for Bowling Green on lane 7 is Jenna Kurian, another junior. Jenna's got a 177 average this year, and she picks up 8 and leaves the 310. Up on lane 8, we've got Jalen Rupel for Napoleon, working to pick up her 10 pin, and she picks up the spare. We've got Heather up on lane 6 for Napoleon. That looks good, but it leaves the 7 pin. Over on lane 7 for Bowling Green, we got the number 5 bowler. That is Kelly Miller. Kelly is a senior this year with a 185.67 average. And Spencer Schweiger picks up a strike on lane 8. I'm sorry, she picks up her spare on lane 8. Pardon me. Coming up on lane 6 for Napoleon, we've got Ella Fox, a sophomore. Oh, nasty split. Leaves the 4, 7, and 10. Or I'm sorry, the 4, 6, and 7. Lane 8 for Bowling Green, we've got Jenna Kurian, and she picks up 6. Jalen Rupel on lane 7 picks up her spare. Heather McMahon on lane 5 picks up 8 and leaves the 4, 7. And we've got Abby Detmer in on lane 6. Spencer Schweiger in lane 7 picks up her spare. On lane 6, we've got Tyler Pacheco, and she picks up the strike. On lane 5, we've got Ella Fox looking to pick up her spare. She gets 3 out of the 4. Next for Napoleon on lane 5 is Abby Detmer, a junior. It's a little bit high and she gets a split. Leaves the 4, 6, 7. Spencer Schweiger up on lane 8 with her first ball, and she strikes. For Bowling Green on lane 7, we've got number 3 bowler, Mia Herrera, and she picks up her spare. Coming up for Napoleon on lane 6, Ella Fox. And she gets a strike. on lane 8 for Bowling Green with her spare attempt is Mia Herrera, and she just misses. On lane 7 with her first ball, we've got Jalen Rupel working on a strike, and she's just a little bit light. Ends up picking up 6, leaving the 1, 2, 4, 8. Or I'm sorry, yeah, 1, 2, 4, 8. We got a strike for Bowling Green on lane 8. That was Jenna Kirian. She's got back-to-back strikes now. Coming up next for Bowling Green is Kelly Miller. She's got 3 strikes that she's working on. And she adds a 4th. Up on lane number 5 is Heather McMahon for Napoleon. She's working on a strike here. And on lane 7, we've got Spencer Schweiger with a strike. Heather picks up 9, leaves the 4-pin. And on lane 7, we've got Mia Herrera, picks up 9. And Jalen Rupel picks up a strike on lane 8, first in the 10th. Ella Fox on lane 5 picks up 8. Leaving the 6-10. Jalen Rupel with her second ball in the 10th on lane 8. And picks up 9, can't quite get the last one to fall. And Ella picks up her spare on lane 5. Up on lane 6 for her spare attempt from Bowling Green is Tyler. And she gets that started a little too far outside. On lane 5, we've got Abby Detmer. And she brings it a little heavy, and it goes through the nose and leaves a nasty split, the 4-6-10. All right, we've got Spencer coming up on lane 8, going into her 10th frame. And she gets 9, leaves the 10-pin. Spencer with her spare attempt picks it up. And Heather with her spare attempt just misses outside. Heather finishes with a 180. Jalen Rupel finished earlier with a 193. And Spencer finishes with a strike in the 10th. And Spencer finishes with a 227. Ella with her spare attempt in the 10th. And she gets it. Bowling Green's Kelly Miller with another strike. And Ella Fox finishes with a strike in the 10th. Bowling Green's Linda Alfaro finished with a 231. And Kelly Miller finishes with a 240 for Bowling Green. Abby's got 2 strikes in the 10th, waiting for her third ball. Bowling Green's Tyler Pacheco finishes with a 159. And Abby finishes with a strike. So Abby finishes with a 179. All right, switching back over to the end of the boys' match. Got Bowling Green's Colin Fay coming up on lane 3, looking to pick up his spare. And he misses it. And he finishes with a 288. James Gherkin for Napoleon on lane 2 in his 10th frame. First ball. And he gets a 9. We're waiting for James to throw his second ball here. And he misses. And James will finish with a 161. We've got Bowling Green's James Alfaro with a strike in the 10th. He's working on a strike in the 9th. He finishes with a 236. All right, last bowler to bowl is for Napoleon. And it's Jacob Hall. He's got 1 strike in the 10th. He's getting ready to bowl his second ball. He gets the strike. And with his last ball, A gets 9. So Jacob finishes with a 230. All right, switching back over to the girls who have started their second game. Ella Fox on lane 5, picks up 9, leaves the 4-pin. We've got Jalen Rubel with her first ball on lane 7, working on a strike in the first, and she adds a second one. Bowling Green picks up their spare on lane 8. Bowling Green's Tyler Pacheco on lane 6 with her first ball. And she gets a strike. Ella Fox with her spare attempt pulls it just a little left and misses. Spencer leaves the 4-pin on lane 7. Abby Detmer up on lane 5 with her first ball, and she picks up 9 and leaves the 10-pin, working on a spare in the first frame. Spencer on lane 7 gives it a little bit extra and pushes it to the left, misses the 4-pin. Napoleon's Heather McMahon up on lane 6. Her first ball. Just misses the 7-pin. Bowling Green on lane 7 picks up 9, leaves the 5-pin. On lane number 5, Bowling Green's Linda Alfaro picks up 6. And Heather picks up her spare on lane 6. Jalen Rupel on lane 8, looking to pick up her spare, which she does. Ella Fox on lane 6 ends up crossing over and picks up 6, leaves the 1, 3, 6, 9. Bowling Green's Tyler Pacheco on lane 5 with her first ball, ends up picking up 7, leaves the 6, 9, 10. Bowling Green's Kelly Miller up on lane 7 with her first ball in the 3rd frame. And it wobbles, but the 10-pin does not fall down. She picks up 9. And Spencer on lane 8 with her spare attempt picks it up. All right, Abby Detmer up on lane 6. And she can't quite get the 10 to fall. Leaves the 10-pin, gets 9. Heather McMahon up on lane 5. Her first ball in the 4th frame. That looks good. And she gets a strike. Abby trying to pick up her spare on lane 6. That looks good. No, just a little to the inside. Misses. Ella Fox up on lane 5 with her first ball. Gets a little heavy and hits through the nose. Leaves 2. Leaves the 3 and the 6. Bowling Green with a strike on lane 6. That was Linda Alfaro. Linda's got a 187 average this year. And Ella with her spare attempt on lane 5 picks it up. And Bowling Green's spare attempt on lane 8 just misses. Picks up 3 out of the 4. Kelly Miller going for a 10-pin, picks it up. Next up on lane 7 for Napoleon is Jalen Rupel. Delivers the ball and hits a little bit light. Ends up picking up 7. Leaves the 2-4-5. Abby Detmer over on lane 5 gets 9, leaves a 10-pin. Heather McMahon on lane 6. It's just a little light. Ends up leaving the 4-7. Jalen up on lane 7 with her spare attempt. Abby Detmer on lane 5 with her spare attempt. And Jalen chops and gets 2 out of the 3, and Abby picks up her spare. Heather McMahon up on lane 6 with her spare attempt, gets it. Up on lane 5 for Bowling Green is Linda Alfaro. And she gets 8. A nasty split, leaves the 4-10. And Spencer with a strike on lane 7. And on lane 6 is Ella Fox. And crosses over and gets the Brooklyn with a strike. Abby Detmer up on lane 6 with her first attempt. And she gets a strike. It was a nice ball. All right, switching back to the boys' match. On lane 2, we've got James Alfaro. And he has a strike. He's got 3 in a row. Bowling Green on lane 4, I believe that's Colin Fahey with his spare attempt, and he gets it. Coming up for Napoleon on lane number 4 will be Elijah Wolf. He's working on a strike in the 4th. Delivery and a strike for Elijah. That's 2 back to back. And we've got Ashton Kiesling over on lane 2. Hits a little bit late. Ends up leaving the 1-2-4. Bowling Green on lane 3. I believe this is Clayton Ginson. He gets 9 and leaves the 10-pin. Ashton with his spare attempt in lane 2. And he ends up just getting 1 out of the 3. Up on lane 1 for Napoleon, we've got Anthony Stewart. And he gets 8. Green on lane 4 picks up 9. Leaves a 10 pin. Anthony with his spare ball. And he picks up his spare. Good job, Anthony. Following Anthony on lane 1 is Jacob Hall for Napoleon. Jacob's working on a strike in the 3rd. Jacob gets 8 and leaves a split. Leaves the 4-9. Elijah with his on lane 3, and he leaves the much more makeable 6-10. Up on lane 2 with his first ball. And he gets a strike. We've got Jacob on lane 2. And he gets a strike. Next up on lane 3 for Napoleon is Levi Anderson. Levi with the delivery. And he picks up 8. Ends up leaving the 6-9. Bowling Green on lane 4 picks up their spare. James Alfaro with another strike on lane 1 for Bowling Green. And on lane 4, another strike for Bowling Green. I believe that was Colin Fay for Bowling Green. Up on lane 1, we've got Ashton Kiesling for Napoleon. And he gets a strike. All right, we'll switch back to the girls' match. We've got Jalen Rupel on lane 7, working on 2 strikes back-to-back, adds a 3rd. Bowling Green's Mia Herrera picks up her spare on lane 8. We've got Ella Fox on lane 5, looking to pick up her spare. On lane 7, Spencer Schweiger. She picks up a strike. And Ella picks up her spare. So Spencer's got 4 strikes in a row that I can see. Heather McMahon on lane 6 gets 9. The 10 pin just won't fall. And Abby Detmer on lane 5. Heather looking to pick up her spare on lane 6. And she does. All right. Abby looking to pick up her spare on lane 5. Oh, just misses. All right. Bowling Green's Kelly Miller on lane 8. And Napoleon's Ella Fox on lane 6. Kelly leaves the 6-10, and Ella leaves the 1-2. Green's Linda Alfaro up on lane 5 with a strike. It's a nice looking ball. Kelly Miller on lane 8 with her spare, and Ella Fox up on lane 6 with hers. Bowling Green's Tyler Pacheco on lane 5 for Bowling Green, working on a spare in the 8th. And she gets a strike. And Abby Detmer on lane 6 ends up leaving the 4-7. And Jalen Rupel leaves the 7 on lane 8. Bowling Green's Kelly Miller on lane 7 gets the strike. Heather Mann on lane 5 for Napoleon gets the strike. Abby Detmer on lane 6 picks up the spare. And Jalen picks up the spare on lane 8. All right, coming up on lane 8, we've got Spencer Schweiger with a string of strikes. Oh, just a little bit late. Gets 6. Heather over on lane 5. And she gets a strike. That's 2 strikes in the 10th for Heather. Bowling Green's Linda Alfaro with her first ball picks up 9. Or I guess that's their second ball in the 10th. And Heather closes out the 10th with 3 strikes in a row for a 217. And Bowling Green's Linda Alfaro finishes with a 177. Jalen Rupel with a strike in the 10th frame on lane 7. And Ella Fox with her own strike on lane 5 in the 10th. Bowling Green's Tyler Pacheco with a strike in the 10th. And Ella gets 7 on her second ball in the 10th. And Jalen with a strike, her second ball in the 10th. Bowling Green's Tyler Pacheco on lane 6 with her second ball in the 10th. And she strikes. And Ella just goes around, gets 2 out of the 3. And Jalen with 3 straight strikes in the 10th to finish with a 213. Abby Detmer with her first ball in the 10th gets 9. Oh, Spencer with her first ball in the 10th ends up getting a 7-10 split. And Abby picks up her spare in the 10th. And Spencer closes out the 10th with a 190. Abby's last ball in the 10th. It's a little high. She gets 9. Finishes with a 180. All right, we'll switch back to the boys' match. Got Elijah Wolf on lane 3. And he gets 7 on the second ball in the 10th. We got Ashton Kiesling on lane 1 for Napoleon with a strike to start his 10th frame. And Elijah gets 2 out of the 3. Elijah finishes with a 179. Levi Anderson up on lane 3, and he gets a strike. Ashton with his second ball in the 10th frame. It's a little light. Ends up with 8. Leaving the 2-8. And Levi with his second strike in the 10th. Bowling Green picks up their spare. That was, I believe, Dylan Swalls, Bowling Green. Anthony Stewart up for Napoleon on lane 1 for his 10th frame. Ashton Kiesling finished with a 190. On lane 4. Picks up another strike. That's 2 for him in the 10th. Levi closed out the 10th with 8 pins for a 222. Anthony with his last ball in the 10th gets 7. Finishes with a 159. And Bowling Green's James Alfaro gets 9 on the first ball in the 10th. Bowling Green's number 4 bowler, I believe it's Clayton Genson, finished with a 216. James picks up his spare in the 10th. Jacob on his first ball gets 9. Leaves the 7 pin. Bowling Green with another strike in the 10th on lane 4. I believe it's Colin Fay. And James finishes with 8 for a 234. switch back to the girls for who are already in their first Baker game. Fox with 9. Leaves 10 pin. Bowling Green with a strike in their second frame. And Ella pulls it and misses the 10 pin.
I know you're Bobcats, but that's all right. Come on.
Yeah.
All right, coming up for Napoleon in the fifth frame, we've got Jalen Rupel. And she gets a strike. got Ella Fox up on lane 7, looking at the 6-10. And she ends up getting 1 out of the 2. And Bowling Green looking to convert the 7-pin. Nope, not the 7-pin. Misses. Bowling Green with a slight edge in the Baker match so far. Bowling needs to put some marks together. And Heather gets 8 on her first ball, leaving the 6-10. And Bowling Green pick up 9 in the 9th. Leaves 1, the 9-pin. And Heather picks up the conversion. And Bowling Green misses on their sparrow attempt in the 9th frame. Up for Napoleon, we've got Spencer Schweiger on lane 7. Needs a strike. And she gets it. Bowling Green's Kelly Miller with her first ball gets a strike in the 10th. Napoleon's Jalen Rupel up. Her first shot in the 10th. She ends up getting 9. Leaves the 10-pin. And Kelly Miller picks up another strike in the 10th. And Jalen picks up her spare. Kelly Miller with her last ball. Gets the strike. Bowling Green finishes the first Baker game with a 172. And Jalen gets a strike. And Napoleon finishes with a 153. Switching back to the boys' match. Bowling Green picks up their spare in the 10th frame. Napoleon picks up 9 in the 8th on their first ball. And Bowling Green picks up 5 to finish out their game. They end up with a 210. And Elijah picks up his spare in the 8th. Ashton's next up for Napoleon. And he picks up 9, leaves the 2-pin. picks up the spare. Levi to close out the 10th. Gets 8. Switch back over to the girls. We got Heather coming up in the 3rd, working on a pair of spares in the 1st and 2nd frames. Comes in just a little bit light, leaves a 2-pin. Bowling Green's Tyler Pacheco leaves the 4-7 split. Or I'm sorry, not the 4-7, the 6-7. Heather with her spare attempt. And she picks it up. And Napoleon boys finished with a 169 in their first Baker game. Levi finished with a spare and then a strike. Next up, we've got Spencer Schweiger for Napoleon in the 4th frame. And she gets the strike. And Bowling Green's Kelly Miller in their 5th frame. She picks up 8 and leaves the 6-10. Jalen Rupel up for Napoleon. Working on the strike. And she picks up another one. That's back-to-back strikes for Napoleon. And Kelly Miller picks up the spare for Bowling Green. Abby Detmer up next for Napoleon. It's just a little bit light, leaves a 2, 4, 5, 8. Bowling Green gets 6 with her first ball. Abby looking to pick up the spare. She gets it. And Bowling Green with her spare attempt. Misses. All right, next up we got Lily Gubernath for Napoleon. And it looked good, but end up splitting. Bowling Green with the strike. And Bowling Green, there's ball gets a little high, ends up leaving the 6-10. Bowling Green with their spare attempt. And they pick it up. Next up, we've got Heather McMahon for Napoleon in the 8th frame. And she ends up splitting, leaves a 4-6. Bowling Green hits 6. Leaves a 3, 6, 7, 10. her spare attempt. Open to get one. She does. Takes out the 4-pin. And Bowling Green with their spare attempt. She picks out 2 out of 4. All right, Spencer Schweiger up for Napoleon. And she gets a strike. Bowling Green's Kelly Miller up. She gets 9, leaves the 2-pin. Jalen Rupel up in the 10th frame to close this out. She starts us out with a strike. Kelly with her spare attempt. And she picks it up. Jalen with her second ball in the 10th gets another strike. And Bowling Green with her last ball in the 10th. And she gets a strike. Bowling Green closes out second baker with a 145. Jalen Rupel with her last ball in the 10th. And she gets the strike. Finishes out with 199 for the second Baker game. All right, switching over to the boys match. All right, Bowling Green looking to pick up their spare. They get 2 out of the 3. Napoleon, we've got Michael Gallagher up, looking to pick up his spare. Oh, ends up pulling it just a little bit. Bowling Green with their first ball in the 9th frame gets the strike. Napoleon's Preston Miller with his first ball. Gets a strike. Bowling Green's James Alfaro in the 10th frame. Picks up 8 on his first ball.
That's right. Especially in bowling.
Leaves the 6-10. Anthony Stewart up for Napoleon. Hits a little light. Picks up 7. Leaves the 1, 2, and 10. And Bowling Green's James picks up the spare in the 10th.
All the oil out of his balls last night really cleaned them up a little bit.
There we go. Good ball.
Probably shouldn't have, because they were both taking off on him.
Anthony with his spare attempt on lane 4. And he picks up the 1, 2. Can't quite get the 10. And Bowling Green's James Alfaro finishes out with an 8 count for a 132. James Gherkin for Napoleon. Ends up splitting, leaves the 410. 410.
That's a good ball. Boom. There you go. Two separate weekends.
I think there's some debate on which ball James should use to try and pick up the spare. who's going to actually try and pick it up or just pick up one. Levi Anderson up for Napoleon. In the last 10th frame. Ends up getting 7. The nasty split. 4-6-7. All right, we'll switch back to the girls' match. Spencer Schweiger just bowled a strike in the 4th. It's back-to-back strikes for Napoleon. And Napoleon finishes with a 138 for the second Baker game for the boys.
How bad is that?
Jalen Rupel up for Napoleon with her first ball. And she picks up the strike. That's 3 strikes back-to-back for Napoleon. Bowling Green's Kelly Miller ends up picking up 6, leaving the 4, 7, 9, and 10. Abby Detmer up for Napoleon, the 6th frame.
That's right, girl.
Hit it! All right, we can take that.
Ends up hitting a little heavy, ends up leaving the 6-10. Bowling Green with their spare attempt. And she misses. Abby with her spare attempt here. Looks good. And, ooh, it chops. Ends up picking up just the 6, leaves the 10. Bowling Green picks up 5 on their first ball in the 6th. Got Lily Guvernath up for Napoleon in the 7th. And she gets 9, leaves a 6 pin. Bowling Green with their follow-up. And she picks up 4 out of the 5. Bowling Green with their first ball of the 7th frame. Goes through the nose, leaves 7, or gets 7, leaves 3. And Lily picks up the spare for Napoleon. And Bowling Green picks up their spare. All right, coming up in the 8th frame, we've got Heather McMahon for Napoleon. But first, we've got Bowling Green. Bowling Green's working on a spare in the 7th. And she ends up leaving the 10 pin. Heather McMahon with her delivery. And she gets 9, ends up leaving the 6 pin. Bowling Green with their spare attempt. And she gets it. And Heather McMahon with her spare attempt on lane 8 for Napoleon. And it gets it. So for Bowling Green, their 9th frame, working on a spare. Picks up 8. Leaves the 4-7. Spencer Schweiger up on lane 8. And she gets a strike. Bowling Green looking for their spare. Picks it up. We've got Jalen Rupel coming up for Napoleon in their 10th frame. And there's a strike. It's back-to-back strikes for Napoleon now. Bowling Green with their first ball in the 10th. Gets 9. Jalen with her second shot in the 10th. Looks good. Another strike. Back-to-back strikes for Jalen. That's 3 in a row for Napoleon. Jalen with her last ball in the 10th. Gets 9. So Napoleon finishes with a 218 for their third Baker game. And Bowling Green picks up their spare in the 10th. Finishes with 135. All right, switching back to the boys. We've got Bowling Green working on a spare in the 7th frame. And he picks up the spare. Anthony Stewart for Napoleon in the 8th frame with his first ball, working on back-to-back strikes. Oh, the 10-pin just will not go over. Picks up 9, leaves the 10. And Bowling Green with a strike. That's in the 8th frame for them. Bowling Green in the 9th gets 9. Anthony with his spare attempt. And he picks it up. And Bowling Green picks up their spare in the 9th. Bowling Green with a slight edge going into the 10th frame. Oh, yeah. And James Gherkin for Napoleon with a strike. Bowling Green with a strike in the 10th. We've got Elijah Wolf up for Napoleon, bowling anchor in the 10th frame. And he gets the strike. He needed that one. Bowling Green with her second ball in the 10th, and it goes through the pins and leaves a split. And Elijah with a second strike. And he picks up 3 out of the 4. That was a good effort by Bowling Green there. Bowling Green finishes with a 214 in the third Baker game. And Napoleon finishes with a 204. All right. Games are so close today, I really didn't have a chance to do the scorekeeping, so I will do the tallies afterwards, and I will post them down below in the comments. Thank you for joining the live stream today. Tell people, everyone you know about it. Let's get more subscribers and grow the channel. Thank you very much.